What's going on, guys? Welcome to the WIFFY Real podcast, man. I'm super excited today because I'm with my friend, Juan Grimaldo, man, an incredible person, family man, entrepreneur, man, and he's going to share his story with us today. So, Juan, thank you, man, for coming on the WIFFY Real podcast, bro. How are you doing today, man?
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me, WIFFY. Super excited to be here with you.
Awesome, man. Just real quick before we get going, I'll give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself. But before I do, I just want to share with the audience, man, this guy has an incredible story. His story is very inspirational, from trying one thing to the next thing to the next thing, which eventually got him to where he is today. And just before we even got going, he told me that, man, there's really not a dream that I haven't been able to accomplish. And for somebody to be able to say that, man, is huge, you know? So with all that said and no further ado, Mr. Juan, please give yourself an introduction to our audience, man.
Awesome. Thank you, WIFFY. My name is Juan Grimaldo. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a dad. I'm a Christian man that lives here in Phoenix. I've been here for 25 years. I was born in California, but I think I'm from Arizona now. I've been here so long.
Right on, dude. How many years have you been here?
25.
25 years, dude. So where in California were you born?
Santa Maria. It's it's the Central Coast by Santa Barbara. It's about an hour north, about 3 hours north from LA.
Right on, dude. And you had mentioned that you were born in California, kind of grew up there for a little bit, and then you moved to Mexico.
So when my dad was 62, he didn't like living here. All he did was work. So as soon as he reached 62, we got in a car and we left.
Hey, was your dad already an older guy when he had you, or no?
Yeah, he was 51 when he had me. My mom was 44. So I was premature. Yeah.
Out, dude.
6.5 months. I was in a rush to get out of there.
Man, your dad was still cooking, dude.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. No, he was.
Your mom,
he was
poor
awesome.
mom, dude.
Definitely. Yeah. No,
Dude. So I know you have siblings. So technically, you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest of 8.
The youngest of 8.
Yep.
Golly, dude. Are you and your family pretty close or no?
Yeah. My brother lives in Goodyear. One of them. My other brother lives in Mesa, and my sister lives down the street from where I live now.
Okay. Are they kind of like in kind of entrepreneurs too, or not really?
No, I'm the only one. I'm the only crazy guy.
Dang.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah, I grew up in a town where there's a lot of business owners, and my brothers kind of left and started working here. So they didn't have I went to school. A lot of my friends, their parents had businesses, so I grew up with that in mind.
Dude, let's put a pin on that one and come back to that one because you and I talked before about how your environment can shape you and stuff, or the people you hang out with, you know? First of all, man, I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast, dude. Thank you for allowing me to start to become your friend, man, your close friend.
Likewise.
For providing me that space, you know, in your life, dude. From the moment I met you, dude, I knew that there was something special about you and something special about our relationship. I don't know where it's gonna go, man, but I knew that there was something, man. And now we're here sitting on the podcast, man. But dude, just real quick, let's start with your childhood just a little bit, just so we can understand, get a glimpse, quick summary, and understand the man that you become today, man. But tell us, man, like a little bit about your childhood and kind of what birthed in you the desire, not necessarily to become an entrepreneur, but like that drive that you have, man. Do you think you just, you know, tell us about that, man?
So like you said, my dad was 51 when he had me, but the man was strong. Like he was going, right. He was really, he was a hard worker. When we went to Mexico when I was 11 years old, he would get up at 5 a.m. every single day and go to work. He didn't have to work, but he had a little farm with animals. He had crops. He had planted corn or whatever the season was for. So he was always working. So to me, that showed me that you have to work hard no matter what. He was retired already. He didn't have to work, but he got up every single morning like he had to. So that was one of the things. The other thing that kind of shaped me growing up and coming back and forth from Mexico, we had a house in Mexico. We lived in apartments here. I always slept on the floor. We never had a bed. Everything that we had was from La Segunda, you know, the thrift store. So my dad always was in his mind, we got to leave. We're going to go to Mexico. So when we left at 11 years of age, just picture this. We were renting a room. I was 11 years old. My mom, my dad, and I slept in a little mattress on the floor. And to me, that was like, man, there's got to be more, right? And then when we left, thank God my father had the retirement that he got from the Social Security. but it kind of got me thinking at a young age, man, I want to have more. I want to do more. My dad, unfortunately, he had no other reference but the people that he was around with, right? So I was in Mexico. I was 11, 12 years of age. My mom sends me to Nebraska so that I would keep the language and speak English. So I went to school there. We went back and forth. I probably went to 6 or 7 elementary schools, like 4 or 5 junior highs, and like 3 high schools.
Man, that's crazy.
So it was a lot of moving, and I hated it. Why? Because we had to move every single time, every 6 months. And also with my mom sending me to Nebraska and going back to Mexico, I hated it. So taking you over to the U.S. when I had my kids, I didn't want them to go through that. So that kind of shaped me in a way that I didn't want that for my kids. But I'm not going to say I suffer because my parents took care of me 100%. Like, they were awesome. My dad was, like I said, a hardworking man. He loved me. I could feel the love. Same with my mom in a different way. She was very strict. I went to a Catholic school in Mexico. So those nuns were kind of mean, but I can understand that now. They were trying to get us to be disciplined. So that's how I grew up. I half my life in Mexico, half my life here. We were blessed with a home, with food on the table. So we never really struggled in a way that, I was, oh my gosh, I don't have food to eat. In hindsight, I go back to Mexico when I was a little kid. When I remember that, a lot of my friends in my neighborhood, their houses, their floors were dirt. They were really, really literally dirt poor. And I remember them across the street from my mom's house. They would buy a pile of tortillas with, like, I don't know, 5 pesos, and they would put a little piece of meat on top of it and just could touch the meat to taste the flavor of the meat. Like, they were. So for me, that was kind of eye opening to say we're really, really, really blessed, and we were. Like, we had, like I said, my father had food on the table all the time. We never lacked anything. Did I want more? I always did. I've been like that. That's kind of the drive that I have. Growing up, I wanted to have more and more. I wanted to see what it felt like to have a nice pair of shoes, which at 14 years of age, I was already working with one of my friends, and I bought my first, pair of Vans. I remember those. They had skulls. They were the coolest thing ever. And I remember I spent 200 pesos on those shoes, man. That was like the thing, right?
Bro, so how many years did you live in Mexico for?
Yeah, again, it was on and off. Like, almost every year I would move, come back and forth. So,
and when you guys moved, was it with the whole family or just you?
It was my mom. So my dad would be in the States working, and then she would pull me out of school and bring me here. And then we would go back when he was done with the temporary work. And we went back and forth like that. And again, I hated it. I wanted to play sports. I never played anything. I had to meet the worst kids. We didn't live in the nicest neighborhood. So every time that I went to a new school, I had to make friends with the crazy kids. Why? Because either I became their friends or they beat me up.
Right.
There was a lot of gangs growing up, and it was not pretty. So
man, that's rough, dude. I can't even begin to imagine that. Dude.
Yeah, and it was, you had to be part of it or they'll beat you up. So, and again, I never joined a gang, but I hung out with them because I had to. I mean, I had to survive,
Yeah. Dude, so so tell us about once you got out of high school, man. Like, at that point, where were you in life? I know at 18, they consider us adults, man, but sometimes at 18, man, we're not really there yet, I speak for myself. But
you're still a kid.
Yeah, you're still a kid, man, and so, but you, man, where were you around that time, and where were you going?
There was some pivotal points, and you mentioned earlier pivoting. When I was about 14 years of age, I was working with my friend, and he had a huaraches shop, so he made huaraches there. And when I was
made them?
Yeah, so from scratch. Like, I learned how to make it from scratch.
Get out, dude.
Yeah, so I learned every single step of the way, and he was really, really poor too. He recently passed away. So, but anyways, I used to go with him, and to be honest with you, the reason I would go there is because they had cerveza. So I would have a beer with them. I felt like I was an adult.
Yeah.
And I would hang out with them. And this one time, this dude comes up, and in my hometown, it's a small city, but we kind of know everybody, and we know who's who and who's got money and who doesn't.
Right.
So this guy, he had a truck. Back then, they would build these custom campers, and they were just to carry the shoes, right? And it was made out of aluminum, and it was gold aluminum. And that was like, if you had that, you were well off. So he was sitting down waiting for his truck to be loaded. And I started asking him questions, just like you are doing right now with me. And I would ask him, so what do you do? He's like, well, I would take all these shoes, I go around the country and I sell them in different places. And then I come back and I do it again. Because I knew them I knew his family and I knew his house. And in Mexico, you have a 2-story house with aluminum in the 80s. You were, doing good. So to me, that was an eye opener, comparing the guy that was making the shoes, comparing the guy who was the middleman. And then he would go to the stores and sell them to someone else that was going to pay a lot of overhead, right? Employees, rent, and all that. So that was the first moment that I started thinking as an entrepreneur. And I says, okay, how is this guy having this kind of money when this guy's, busting his butt, working all the time, and then he doesn't make as much as this guy does, or the person in the store? Because then after that idea, I'm like, all right, what if I do it? So when I was 16 years old, fast forward a couple of years, I kept working with my friend, going back and forth to Nebraska. And my brother brings in a truck, and I helped him bring it over from Nebraska. We drove. It was a 1967 Ford F-100. It was a stick shift, up here. And
That's
so,
crazy.
yeah, so we drove down to Mexico. We get to Mexico, and he leaves it there. He comes back. He wants to, like my dad, live in Mexico. He doesn't want to live here at all, which he still lives here, by the way. Armando, how you doing? And he leaves the truck down there, and I'm still in school, and I start taking the truck to school. And I'm like, maybe I can do the same thing as the other guy's doing. So I go to my friends, because I have several friends that had little factories, at their houses. And I says, what if I take some of your shoes? I'll sell them, and whatever I sell, I'll pay you. And whatever I don't, I bring back, like consignment. And they're like, sure. They're making shoes every single day. They have, shoes galore everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I actually partnered with one of my buddies in school. I said, why don't we do this? Let's partner up. I think there's money here. Let's do it. So I take one of my best friends. He lives in Mesa also. He's a very successful entrepreneur as well. And he says, I invited him too. So the three of us get in the truck, load it up with shoes, and we head out. And we start going to Colima, which is about 3 hours from Sahuayo, Michoacan, where I'm from. And as I'm driving to every town, I stop by, I hang the shoes on my neck, and I have different versions of the different styles we had. And I would tell them, I would sell them the shoes. Hey, I have these shoes. We're selling them for so much a dozen. And, I would make a deal and then go to the next one and then the next one. And I get to this gentleman. He was an older man, and he thought the shoes were expensive. And I says, why do you say that? He's like, you have a lot of expenses. There's 3 of you guys. You got to get rid of one, or at least, one. And that got me thinking. So when I did the business, my buddy from school was the one that, we came up with the idea. And my other friend, I brought him because he was my best friend. And his brother he owned the shop. So we go back, and I say, you know what, we're going to have to split up because we got to make money. But that weekend itself, we made $200 each, which in 1996, that was a lot of money for a young kid. This was $200, 2,000 pesos, which dollar was 10 pesos back then. So I'm like, man, this is good. So we kept doing it. Long story short, my buddy had a visa. So we're like, why don't we export shoes to the U.S.? 16-year-old kids, crazy kids. And I tell my parents, you know what? I'm not going to go to school anymore. I'm going to drop out of high school and leave. I mean, you guys have worked your whole lives. You guys raised the family. I think you deserve to enjoy your life with whatever the government gives you, and not be a burden to you. So I left, and I came to the States. My buddy got here a little bit before me and got a good job at a warehouse. And when he was there, he got me a job. So I started working, and I said, let's go ahead and bring the first batch of shoes. So I order samples, and then I go to La Placita Olvera, El Mercadito de Los Angeles, La Cuatro, the 4th Street there in Santa Ana. So the Mexican places where we can find people that would be interested in these shoes. So we do our first shipment, and the first shipment we make $5,000. Again, this is back in 1998. And I'm like, man, this is good. So we kept doing it for a little bit, yet somebody else was bringing truckloads of shoes. And he was selling it for less than we were buying them in Mexico. And we're like, how does he doing it? Well, we found out that this guy wasn't paying him. So he was basically stealing him. So he owed everybody down there. But he pretty much flooded the market with shoes. So our business was gone. And at that point, I just kept working,
So at this time, how old were you, man?
17.
17. Dude.
Yeah.
So at 16, you guys were starting your own little business, so to speak, down there. And then during that same time, you had the idea of exporting, dude. And then you came over here and you made $5,000 on your first load.
There's a funny story behind this.
That's
because
crazy.
Yeah, we had no clue. And this is one of the things that I've always been like this. Like, I don't overthink stuff. I just do it. If things don't work out, there's got to be a better way. But I learned the ways as I go. I kind of trial and error and fail forward. So the first time we imported the shoes, we go to 18-year-old kids. We can go to Mexico. We're going to go pick them up. But of course, Ensenada and Papas and Beer and all those places were there. So we go and hang out and have fun. And then we go pick up the shoes. On our way back, we have this car. It was a Golf, like a 1985 Golf, Volkswagen Golf. And it's loaded with shoes. We're crossing the border. And the immigration officer's like, did you get a permit for this? Did you pay your taxes? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, these shoes are supposed to say made in Mexico. They don't have any of this stuff. So you need to go back to get a broker, have them do the paperwork so you can import them. And then it's leather, so you have to pay a special tax. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had no clue. So we go back, we meet a broker. The broker takes care. He's like, we can actually handle everything for you. We can receive the shoes, do the paperwork, and ship them to wherever you're at. Perfect. So that's how we got the first shipment. But the funny story was like they returned us. They're like, where are you going with this? So we had to spend a couple more days trying to figure things out. But sometimes people overthink, what they do. So I didn't. I'm like, let's go roll with it. Let's see what happens.
Bro, I resonate with that. I was just talking to my wife about that on the earlier today, dude. But you know what, dude? You touch a very interesting point, man. And I just kind of want to share a little bit of my own background too. I was talking to my wife, and I was like, you know what? If I could go back, I wouldn't. But if I had to, I wish I knew a little bit more than what I did or know what I know now, because I grew up, I'm an only child. I grew up in a small town, border town, and, my parents were involved in the church and stuff like that. So pretty sheltered life, Don't get me wrong. I had my fair share of, struggles and stuff like that, dude. But for the most part, a good life, man. So by the time I hit 18, it's not like I had all that knowledge, and quite frankly, I've been a late bloomer in life in the sense of like business and stuff like that, dude.
But I think it's the environment that you were raised, and also the environment, the place you grow up, the people and you were sheltered, right? Like my kids are sheltered, and I feel like I'm doing a disservice to them. Again, this is going back to you, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I feel like this is important to realize that it's not your fault. Right. And I want to get this quote from Bill Gates. He says, if you were born poor, it's not your fault. But if you die poor, it is your fault. And where I'm going with that is there's so much to learn, but we're so lazy. And I'm one of them. I like to learn things the easy way. And again, I say lazy in a good way because I like to, okay, what's the easiest way to do this? Do I have to struggle, or do I have to go to someone that has done it before and I can learn from that person? So this night, where you were raised, I think you were blessed because you had a beautiful life growing up. There's things that, and like I said, if I could go back and realize what my parents were doing, they were just teaching me whatever they knew, right? And now, how can I change that? And then I find myself in that situation where my kids, I have all this knowledge, but they're not opening to it. See where I'm going?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that all night long, dude. Which, quite frankly, speaking in generalities, I feel like this generation, man, needs a little bit of perspective, man.
Yep.
I think the reason why you had that drive and stuff like that, like, it's because, you like you said, you wanted more. Your reality was a different one, And I didn't grow up with money, but quite frankly, dude, my dad had a business. It wasn't that successful, So we drove a truck that said WIFFYs on the side, radiators and auto glass. Dude, it was like from, I don't know what year, dude. But, that's what they drove me to school with, It was a little bit embarrassing, not going to lie, But all that to say that not so much in the money, because I didn't have money, but in the good family unit, I guess, And even then, I've shared some stuff with you already, but like what I'm trying to say is I wish that by the time I hit 18, I knew what I knew now. So even my present would look so different because I didn't necessarily have that drive then,
Right.
I had drive in other senses, and I wanted to accomplish other things. I had other dreams. And in those aspects, I feel like I did at least touch the cusp of the surface, But for the most part, like in the things that matter in life and today, I feel like, man, I got a late start, not because I was dealt those cards, but just because I didn't have the maturity to understand, like, hey, I need to kick it into gear, and this is how,
And I think that's one of the problems that we have, especially in the U.S., because we're fish in the water. We have no idea how good we have it. And we complain about it when, like I said, my friends, they didn't even have food, man. Like their shoes, they were like 2 or 3 sizes bigger than their foot. However, they would manage. They would fold their socks. Like I played soccer with them. We hung out. You talk about real struggle, man. Like these people, they still cook with wood. Back then, I'm 46 years old. It's not that long ago, dude, when these people were living in a very, very humble way, right? And for me, they were the happiest people on earth. And to me, that gave me perspective. And I'm like, dude, they're living that life. I should be doing more, and I'm gonna do more because I can. We have the tools, we have the ability, and the resources that they don't have. I gotta take advantage of it. And one of the things, being an immigrant, even though I was born here, my father was an immigrant, and I saw the struggle, right? I think that's one of the things that gives me a different perspective, and it gives me an advantage. I'm gonna share something with you. I don't know if it's I can't remember. It's the guy that owns Vanguard or created Vanguard. He was telling his grandkids that he wished they were as fortunate as he was growing up. This guy's a billionaire. And the kids are like, are you serious? Like, I don't think you were very fortunate when you were growing up. He's like, you didn't grow up with my hunger. You're not growing up with the hunger that I had growing up, and you're not going to be able to see what I saw and the ambition to get to where I'm at because they have it. See where I'm going? And this is like with you being sheltered. I feel like with my kids. Like they're kind of sheltered, right? And for them, everything's available. So it's a little like, why would I struggle? Like, I don't need to, right? But for us, it's like, there's no other choice. So I'm going to take you back to another episode in my life when, so I worked at a.
Hey, real quick, before you do.
Sure.
And sorry for interrupting, dude. But I want to touch on something that you said, which is kind of like what we're talking about, but on same book, different chapter.
Okay.
But you mentioned that those people that you saw that were even more poor than you, they had happiness, or at least it seemed that way, you know?
For sure.
I guess my question where I'm going, the question I want to ask with that is, do you think, I know you can be happy with I know that you can be happy with your current circumstance. Money is not what makes you happy. Like that is obvious. 100%. Everybody knows that, or maybe not everybody, but everybody should know that. But what I'm saying is, do you think that those people those people that you knew were happy because, or content because that's all they knew? Or do you think that like maybe there's, because of their circumstance and how hard it was, maybe they chose to just say, you know what, I kind of give up on dreams. I'm just going to be happy with what I have. Or do you think they just didn't know how to, because maybe the environment they grew up in didn't afford them, you know, the opportunity to say, hey, there's more, I'm going to go get more? Or what do you think, man?
To be honest with you, they were happy. Yet the circumstances also were not pretty because a lot of them are dead or in jail. And unfortunately, your environment determines a lot of who you become, right? And having a good mom, it was a very, very different. But it was their reality. Like for me growing up, I didn't know that I knew that I didn't have certain things because I went to a private school. In that private school, there were some really rich kids. And then I went to a high school where then I realized like there was real money that I was wowed by. One of my friends went to Los Legionarios de Cristo, which is a very expensive school where only he went to school with the Dueño de Herdes, like very, very, very multimillionaire people in Mexico.
Right.
So when I went to his house, I'm like, whoa. When he told me about his vacations, I'm like, whoa. Like that was some of my friends in high school, they were going to the Olympics and to me that was like, wow, that's got to be so cool. I can't do it. Like I used to wear, like fake Levi's. They used to sell them in El Tianguis. And I wear my Payless shoes, for those of you that probably don't know.
Payless.
Right? So I didn't have the stuff they had. And I did wanted it because I was hanging out with them. I felt less because of that. Not that I was, but I felt that way. You know what I mean? So going back to my friends, they were happy because that was the reality. Like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't have because you don't have it. But when you start seeing it, you're like, whoa, that's cool. I want to have that.
Bro, yeah, man, without giving too much detail, man, recently I was in a situation where I gave some kids, or at least tried to give some kids some perspective, dude. It was like a class setting and stuff. And I noticed that none of the kids like stood up for the flag salute, dude, you know? And so, except with the exception of one kid. And so so I always do it just to kind of be the example, you know?
have to,
And
yeah.
so I did it, and this other kid stood up, and it was just me and him, dude. And after that, I was like, man, this is sad, you know? And so I turned around and kind of gave a little spiel to the students. And I was like, hey, man, I commend this guy for standing up because he stood up when nobody did.
Right.
You're going to be somebody in life, dog, because you're going against the current, you know? And secondly, like, guys, I grew up in a border town, man, 98% Hispanics, dude. Like, and half of those people probably didn't even speak the language, man. But every day when that thing came on over the speaker, please stand, you know, for the flag, like, everybody did it. The teacher didn't have to tell us. And half of those kids didn't even say anything because they didn't know the language, but they stood there out of respect, you know? And so all that to say that I went on to say, like, you know what? I feel like this generation needs a little bit of context and perspective. I wish I could like transport you all to a different country for like a month.
Taking back to my neighborhood, like where I grew up, like a lot of my friends are dead in jail. Why? Because the only way you have to do, you'd be able to get out of the hood is by selling drugs and becoming, you know, a big narco, like, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
And that was cool. Like, that's what you aspired to. And a lot of my friends are dead for that reason.
Right.
Some of them, like, and again, I'm a little graphic, their head got chopped off. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in that kind of place, and it breaks my heart because that's the only thing you can see. Here, you have no clue how good we have it. And that's what I said. When I say that we're fish in the water, we have no clue that we're in the water, man. We're in the richest country in the world.
Right.
If you make $20,000, did you know you were in the top 1% of people?
Dude, you're preaching to the choir, dude, because everything you just said is stuff that I said, dude. And it was looked upon as like a bad thing, like a political thing, dude. I was like, first of all, I didn't even mention any politics. I didn't mention this party or that party.
It's the truth.
I just simply said, hey, we live in the most beautiful country that affords us opportunities. You know, let's I encourage you, because obviously you can't like tell people to do what they don't want to do, but I highly encourage you guys, man, to stand in
Be grateful that you're
grateful,
here.
bro. Like,
Everywhere you go. Like,
golly, dude.
I grew up in Mexico. I love my country. It's a beautiful country. Sadly, it's not doing very well. But when I come to the States, as soon as I cross the border, I feel relief.
Bro.
Right? When I go down there, as much as I love it, I'm anxious. I'm scared. Let me take you back 7 years ago. I went down to Mexico to see my parents and my mom. My father had already passed away. But when I went back, I was scared because there was a lot of things being heard, you know, that every single day there were shootings, killings. The morning that we arrived, it was like 4 a.m. I hear gunshots. Well, like 2 hours later, my brother shows up and he says, like, so-and-so killed so-and-so. And I'm like, whoa. These are people that I knew. I was there for 7 days. They were the longest 7 days of my life. And I grew up there, dude. Like, it breaks my heart. By 8 o'clock, it's kind of dark. Like, nobody's outside. We used to play it until like 12 midnight and having such a great time. But people that are here have no clue.
And they feel like they can talk about it. Like,
Talk about the authorities. Sorry for interrupting you, but this is like, I'm passionate about this. The authorities, people don't respect them here. In Mexico, dude, if you get pulled over by a cop, you have no idea if he's gonna take your money, take your life, or do the right thing.
Right.
So if it's a thief, you know what he's gonna do. But if it's a cop, like, and here you're so safe, and people complain about it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I know we're going on a tangent, but
bro, thank you for sharing that, dude, because I feel the audience needs to hear that, dude.
Yeah.
The kids, bro, again, I don't want to share too much detail about that situation, but let's just say that it got to the point where I was so discouraged, man, that I resigned, dude.
No way.
I was like, you know what, dude? I'm done with this, because I was doing it out of a good place. And again, all to give good perspective, you know, to these kids. As an educator, part of your job is to instill and teach good values, you know?
The thing is, what are they learning, though? And where are they learning it from? And this is where our parents, like, for example, in Mexico, they used to say, yeah, and the school's going to teach you school stuff, but then here we're going to discipline you, right? And I appreciate that, even though now it's frowned upon, but trust me, the people that got, you know,
a little tap in the back, bro. But you know what, dude? I can tell you this about our current education system from what I've seen. Long story short, dude, I was a sub.
No, you're good.
I didn't sub all the time. I don't need to sub, but I did it because I felt like it was a way to give back, you know? But
100%.
all that to say, dude, that, I mean, the education system, like, is... I don't even know what to say.
Failed, dude. It's failed. Like, you got to say it right. I tell my kids, you know what?
The people leading it, though, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me, bro?
The stuff that they're teaching them.
Yes. And then not only that, but then the parents at home. And you would be surprised, bro, because some of the I'm gonna stop. 'Cause I'm
Well,
gonna get
no,
in
no.
trouble,
Let me share something with you. But I think your heart is in the right place. And again, we may be wrong, but I feel like I'm right. So that kid that stood up, going against the current, that's how it's like right now. But if you don't stand up, you get bullied. If you stand up, you're bullied,
dude.
So that's why the problem. That's where the problem is. Like, they're going to cancel you, which fortunately we're getting rid of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because they cancel you, whatever. Like, really, you're going to cancel me? Like, I'm going to speak out no matter what.
Yeah, we're moving in a different direction now.
Exactly, which is awesome, and I think that's where somebody had to take action and say, you know what, we can't do this. Like, we have to respect everybody's opinion, but in the meantime, you don't punish those that have a different opinion than you. Right? You have to fit in, and that's where I'm the linchpin. Like, I don't fit in, dude. Like, I'm not going to be the one that says yes, yes, yes. If I feel like it's not right, I'm going to say something, and like we're doing right now. And I think a lot of people may not like this. That's totally fine. Change the channel. But if for those people that are willing to hear us out, I'm willing to hear you out too. And it's okay to have a different opinion, but be grateful. Like, we understand it because we come from another place. We come from another country, and you living in the border, you can appreciate it.
Right.
I mean, the border towns, guys, if you go to Mexico, you think you've been to Mexico, you only been to a border town.
Right.
That's not Mexico.
Right.
Mexico is really beautiful, which again, there's so much that you guys don't appreciate because you don't know the reality that we lived in or we grew up with.
Right. Yeah, dude. One of the things I said was like, man, I've gotten to travel a little bit, and I can tell you, same thing you said, dude. When I leave and when I come back,
Scary.
I'm like, thank you, Lord, But again, I just feel like I speak for not necessarily my generation, because I feel with me and my generation, we still kind of understood that, but I see the like Gen Z and lower, dude. And you said something about that was key earlier, like, if you stand up for your values and what you believe in, you get bullied. And no joke, man.
Because you have to fit in.
Dude, when I was doing the thing and the other kid was doing the thing, no joke, I could hear the kids in the back laughing, and their comments were like, oh, what was the comment that they used? Or they said it was something along the lines of like, oh, that's so creepy or weirdo. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. But anyways, man,
it's the culture, and that's the problem with our culture, is that you have to fit in. And I always gone against the current, even with some of my friends. They thought I was crazy for doing what I did and going in the direction that I went. And they're like, "No, how did you do it, man? Well, you want to fit in, you want to be cool. Be cool. I don't want to be cool. I want to do great things. I want to take my family in a different direction, not in the direction that I was going, or that I was being taken to. So, if you want to go that route, have a nice life. I'm going to continue on. I know where I'm going. First of all, God, and He'll guide you, take you to the right place, put the right people in front of you. And if you do the right thing, it's going to hurt, because what happens to Jesus, right? I know we're going in a different direction, but
hey,
they killed him.
Wherever you feel, man.
They killed him, right? And he came to the good. So if you're being criticized, this is a great word of advice that I heard a long time ago. Take it or leave it. If you're being criticized, you're being mocked, and you're being ridiculed for what you're doing because you're doing something different, you're going in the right direction. Keep going.
Yeah. And you're probably doing the right thing, dude. You know 100%. What I'm saying? Yeah. It's crazy, man. We live in some crazy times, man. I tell you what, and it's always refreshing to hear perspectives, like you said, from people who know, because they've lived it, and usually it's from in this country, dude. It seems like I have a bunch of friends that are like we're considered minorities, right? Like, I have Cuban friends, Mexican friends, all Venezuelan friends, dude, and we're all on the same team, 100%. And it's like,
people come to defend us when we don't really need to be defended.
Right.
Dude, we actually are grateful that we're here. We're grateful for the stuff, like the struggle that we have. This is way better than what we had. So the other day I heard the Mexican president, which I respect, but I don't agree with a lot of her stuff. And she says, oh, well, Mexicans in the U.S. are doing this and are doing that. And I says, you know why we're here? Because our country didn't allow us to do the things that we wanted to do, because they put so many hurdles in front of you, trying to take care of the poor and taking away from the rich. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to be well off. I want to help other people, because people think that rich people are evil. No, evil people do evil things.
Right.
A lot of the people that I know that are super wealthy, they're the most generous people. They contribute to society. They give back so much. And they're not saying it. That's why you don't hear them, right? But those people that are doing well are providing jobs, are contributing to charities, donations, churches, and the more, if you're a good person, you're going to do good things with your money, right?
Right, dude. I heard it said one time that money only exemplifies your true character, man.
Exactly.
So if you were, like you said, already a bad guy, you're gonna be even worse. If you were a good guy, you're a good guy. Hey, just real quick on that, kind of pivoting from.
I know we go on a tangent. I'm a realtor, so I go all over the place. Sorry
You're
about
good,
that,
dude. I like it. You're leading the convo, dude. Kind of the same. Again, same book, different chapter, but kind of the same thing on the whole idea of like. Dude, my mind, I've shared this with you, man, but I think I have ADHD because I have a train of thought, and if I don't pursue it in that moment, then it goes away.
Well, let me share something with you. I got to take you back. Speaking about being where we're at and being fish in the water, I had a moment.
I remember, dude. Sorry.
No, go.
Let me go because then I'll forget, dude. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Cut.
Yeah, cut. Are you kidding me? Did I just forget, dude? No, dude. It was like with we were talking about. Remind me what we were talking about. We were talking about
the kid that didn't stood up at school going against the current.
Right. But I wanted to apply that into business because I wanted to pivot into business. I just don't remember exactly how I was going to connect those dots, dude. But
if you remember, catch it. So let me show you. So I want to take you back to this pivotal moment in my life. So when I came and did the shoes, and then the business didn't work out, I kept working. I took a sales job, it didn't work out, and I ended up working at a grocery store. And this is a Mexican grocery store in Santana.
I remember, dude. So sorry, dude.
Go.
So sorry. You're probably thinking like, what the heck, dude?
No, you're good.
Okay. So same thing, talking about people not having context in like life and feeling like they can speak into things that they haven't even lived, bro. That blows my mind. Anyways, pivoting to business, same thing. I feel the same thing happens when it comes to like economy and decisions that have to be made, and stuff like that. Like people that have never ran a business, bro, they feel like they can that they can have an opinion on how we should, do certain things and run certain things, or like how much money people should make, or how a business should operate, or how much money a business should generate in such quarter or this and that, without getting too much into that.
It would be nice if there was a formula like that.
Right. And it's not. And the other thing too is that people that have never produced a dollar, they don't understand what it takes to produce a dollar.
Well, I'm a landlord. I'm going to take you in that regard. So quick example on that is if you're going to buy a rental property, don't do it. The toilet will break and then you have to they're going to call you in the middle of the night. I've owned rental properties for 6 years now, and I never got one phone call for a toilet that's broken. So there's a lot of myths, and like you said, and I want to relate it back to the story you're talking about, or the give it context, because people that don't have a rental property, maybe not even a home, they're giving you advice as to what to do as a landlord. And this is where you have to find the experts in the matter, right? Like for me, I read a lot. I listen to podcasts. I go to many conferences. I invest a lot in my education. I'm a high school dropout, but I'm a autodidact. I read a ton of books, which are in my lane, right? Which help me improve my business, help me improve the people around me and their businesses. To the point, there's young kids in my team that are now owning 2-3 homes, right? In their early 20s. So when you're gonna ask for advice, make sure you ask the right person. And I think that's where you were going with this, right? So, because people try to give you advice on certain things, but they don't have it. Like, how can you coach me on marriage if you're divorced 3 times? You know what I mean? So you have to find that person that is, okay, you happily married, you've been together for 50 years, how did you do it? And so I want to take you back, and this goes kind of hand in hand with this. And like you said, what is it? A same book, different chapter?
Yeah, same book, different chapter.
So back when I was doing the business,
copyrighted.
when I started importing the shoes and things didn't work out, I went to a segue into whatever I could get, because I'm a high school dropout. I have no skills, so I have to find whatever I can to make ends meet for myself, because I didn't even have a car back then. So I'm working at this grocery store, and I'm happy, dude. Like anything I did, again, I didn't know anything better, so I was happy doing my thing. I was working in la carniceria, putting the carne together and all this stuff, and the fish, and serving people. And this one time I'm picking something up, and then I look up, and one of my buddies from my hometown is right there in front of me. And I'm like, hey man, what's going on? I'm super excited, right? I mean, traveled 1,500 miles to north, and I see this guy that lives behind my house in Mexico. I'm super stoked, and I'm like, what's going on, man? He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, working? What do you mean? This is not for you. You speak English. You were born here. Are you stupid? What are you doing here? He called me something worse. But at the moment, I feel bad. And I'm like, what is this? I mean, what's wrong with this guy? You know, I'm happy to see him. He's not happy. He's like, you need to quit this job and find something else. This is not for you. You need to do something better. Leave this for me that I don't have legal documents. I don't speak English. And I'm like, whoa. The next day I quit. And so I went and applied at a temp agency, and they hired me, and they sent me over to a distribution center for like carpets and all that. So now I'm here unloading and loading little carpet rugs, area rugs. There was like 10 of us. And then all of a sudden the manager shows up, and he's like, who knows how to do inventory? And from my previous job, I learned. And I said, me. And then another kid raised his hand. I said, give us a clipboard each. And said, you go that way, you go this way, do the inventory here. So I go, you know, happy as always. Like I was always whistling, doing my thing. And I bring him the inventory. I'm like, here you go. He's like, you finished? I'm like, yeah. You want to work here? Sure. How much are you going to pay me? He's like, $14 an hour. This was back in 1998.
That's pretty good, dude.
And I was making $8 an hour at the other place. That was my first aha moment that you cannot settle. And if somebody comes, slaps you in the face, they may have a reason to do it. And I was super grateful after. I haven't seen him since, but I want to go back and thank that guy, because he was one of the persons that changed my life, and he didn't even probably know about it. But that little comment made me quit, made me realize that I'm worth a little bit more. And I took a chance, and it worked. And after that, it's been like that. So you mentioned that, how did I get to where I'm at? Well, I've been doing all kinds of things. I worked there for a little bit. Then I proposed my wife, and I was in California having fun, you know, not being a good kid. And so I moved to Nebraska, and I got a good job there, proposed my wife, married. We lived in Nebraska for a little bit when we got married, and that's a whole different story.
Hey, time out real quick, dude. So, like, just tell the audience, just real quick, like a quick summary of how you met your wife and how that worked out, dude.
Right. So when I'm working here, I go to Mexico, and I was just at the house. And back then we didn't have cell phones. So the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and it was my wife's sister. He's like, hey, you guys want to hang out? And I'm like, really? Because I had a crush on my wife forever, but her family was better off than us. And I thought she was out of reach. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course. So my brother and I went out and hung out with them. And when we were hanging out, I told her, I said, you know what? I always had a crush on you. And she's like, me too. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. After a while, I said, do you want to be my girlfriend? She's like, why are you leaving? She lived like 5 hours away from my hometown. I lived in the States. So she's like, you're crazy. How are we going to do this? I said, just tell me yes or no. She didn't say anything the rest of the night. She's very good at that. You know, before you know it, she's talking about something else. She changed the subject. Pivot. So, right. So we go home, dropped her off. The next day, I'm hanging out with my friends. Then I go home. And as soon as I get home, my mom's like, hey, Lucelena called. They're leaving. I'm like, what? They just got here. So like in the novelas, you know, I'm running to their grandpa's house, which is like 3 blocks. They were the longest blocks. And, you know, Renata, Lucelena, don't leave. So I'm running to her grandpa's house, and I get there, and sure thing, you know, they're loading up their bags and they're leaving. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, well, my grandpa was really upset that we got here really late. We got there at 10 p.m. But for grandpa, almost 100 years old, that was not for, you know, a young lady to be out there so late. So my mother-in-law was like, you know, we're leaving. We're not going to deal with this. Let's just go. And I said, so what did you think? Are you going to be my girlfriend or not? And she gave me a little Winnie the Pooh that said, I love you. And I'm like, this means yes. Just by the way, she never said yes. I took it as a yes. And so she left. I came to the States. I moved from where I was working to Nebraska. And we kept talking on the phones. Back then, we used to buy these phone cards. With $5, you talk for like 30 minutes or an hour sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I think I remember that, dude.
I'm sure she was bored after a while. So we talked for a little bit, and I proposed to her like right after. I said, hey, would you marry me? And she's like, yeah. I said, okay. So this was December when we met. And like January, I proposed. And then I said, so I'll come over in May with my parents. You know, we do the right thing. And we set up the wedding date and everything. All right. We go down there, you know, we proposed. And my mom was like, she was telling her mom, tell her not to marry my son. And she's like, no, you tell him. So they didn't want us to get married, but we still did it anyways. So we hang out for a week. We, you know, set everything up for the wedding. And fast forward to December, we get married December 2000. So We only went out for a night, and then the 7 days that we were getting prepped for the wedding, and we've been together for 25 years too.
That's crazy, dude. And what a beautiful story, man. You know, that's how you know you made the right choice, dude.
Yes, I'm blessed, and you know what? One of the things that kind of I'm super grateful to God that He put her in my path, because when we got married, I was down to it. I had a good jobs and everything, but when I came to Arizona, I started working as an electrician. I have no electrician skills. Like I have not there's nothing in me that's speaks that, 'cause I don't enjoy it. But I did it for about a year, and every single morning I didn't want to get up. I just hated it. I was making very little money. I was doing something I didn't like. And she always kept pushing me. She's like, come on, we're going to make it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. At this point, we're renting a room from one of our friends. We rented for like 3 months. We slept in a twin bed for about 3 months, and then we got an apartment. So we did that for a little bit, and then, we got our apartment, and I did every single job you can imagine. I worked at Costco, kind of fixing the part-time, fixing the merchandise. And then I worked at a dollar store. That's where my 2 kids were born. I was there for a couple of years. They were good employers. And then after that, I worked at a rent-a-center. Ranway, started doing sales, which I love sales. I've been doing this my whole life without even knowing it. And one of the times I was an assistant manager, they sent me to make my deposit. And the manager knew me at the Bank One back then. And he's like, hey, Juan, we're hiring people. You know anyone that's looking to, work in a bank? We're looking for bilingual people. And I'm like, right here. He's like, really? I said, yeah. So anyways, I went into Chase, and that was like, to me, I'm like, this is my world. This is where I want to be in. I worked there for a few months, and the pay was not great. I was making $12.50 an hour. The commissions were very slim. I already had my 3 kids. So I went to open accounts at this construction place with one of my coworkers. Her husband worked there at the time. And I said, so how much do you make, man? He's like, $20 an hour. I'm like, what? I'm making $12.50. He's like, oh, we put a bunch of overtime. This is when the market was crazy for real estate. So he was building the infrastructure for the new homes. And I said, so what do I need to do to get a job here? He's like, just get your commercial driver license. All right. So I went, took the test, passed my test. And one of my friends works at a garbage company at Parks and Sons. I don't know if you ever seen him.
No, I haven't, dude.
Hard work, dude. Like terrible hard work. He still works there. I applaud him, because that's you run for miles picking up garbage in Sun City. A lot of work. So anyways, I says, how can I get a job there so that I can, pass my test? 'Cause I already have the written test passed. I just need a truck to pass my exam. And he's like, sure. So I go in there, I get a job. It was brutal. For 3 months, I had to suck it up and just do it. And I did it. I got my license, and then I left them, and I went and worked at this company. It was one of the best companies. I have a lot of great friends still from there. I worked there from 2005 till 2009. But anyways, when I was working there, as soon as I left the bank, one of the guy who helped me buy my first home at 24 years of age already purchased my first home. He reaches out to me, says, Juan, I noticed you left the bank. He's a great salesman. He's like, I love your smile. Everybody loves your smile. Would you like to do loans? And I'm like, what does that look like? And he showed me I was going to make 20 times more per deal and commissions. And I'm like, where do I sign? So I started doing loans, working in construction. Some of the people in the construction jobs, I became my clients. Then 2006, 2007, the market, I get my license. And then 2008, the market crashes. So I got my license in the worst time of the world. However, for me, it was the best time, because I went through all the struggle, and I saw all the ugly that you could see. Like, it was really, really bad. From people losing their homes, losing their livelihoods, losing their lives. It was a very, very challenging time. People getting divorced. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on in the houses. People with pouring concrete in the toilets because they were upset that they were losing their homes. But I had to, live all that, and it kind of made me realize, man, it was a bad situation. So 2009, the broker closes his doors. There's no more loans going on. There's a lot of short sales. The market is in turmoil. I kept working. Fast forward to 2011. I did a bunch of stuff in between. I had a hot dog stand. I did events for dealerships with my hot dog stand. We sold tamales. Yeah. So we were trying to make ends meet, and God always provided. We always had food on the table. We always had a roof over our heads. But I was working like crazy. And at that point, this is this is something on the side is my testimony God provided for me, because I was relying on myself for the longest time. Fast forward to 2011, I've already tried 3 times going full time in real estate, and just to get a picture of what it was like back then. Houses were $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, so the commissions were small. Not only that, they were taking about a year to close because there was a lot of short sales and there was nothing short about them. So I tried, and then we started going to church. We go to Radiant Church in Surprise. And I started, getting more involved. And I told God, actually, I started translating. I would go upstairs and volunteer because my wife didn't understand the message. So I was translating for her and everybody else. And God spoke to me, and I used to trust in myself. And I said, you know what, God, I leave it all up on your hands. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I had 5 jobs at one point, WIFFY, and I was super exhausted and not getting anywhere. I felt like I was in a treadmill trying to get somewhere, like not moving at all. And God delivered. I get fired from the job that I had. Vámonos. And I'm like, all right, I got the message. Went in full time, and the rest is history, as they say.
Bro, that's so much to unpack there, dude. But before we do, dude, I just want to say again, dude, every time I talk to you, there's certain snippets that just resonate with me. It's like, bing, bing, bing. Dude, one of the things I heard that you said, man, that I think is very important is that you would go, you would find that next opportunity, no matter how good of a job you thought you had, or like, not that you thought, but like that society would say you had, right? Like, oh, you're at the bank, dude. You want to stay at the bank. That's a good job. Bro, this guy who drove trucks came to you. He's like, dude, you can make more money. He's like, sign me up. That was you, dude. That was your attitude, man. Yep. And you went from there to the next one, to the next one, everything that would take you to the next level, And
I had my family, and I think that's one of the drivers, like a lot of people have. And I hear that a lot with the young kids, and it kind of drives me insane. They say, well, I'm not ready for that. Well, if you don't have any freaking responsibility, you're never going to be ready, because the responsibility pulls you, right?
Yes.
Like people say, why do you get up at 4 a.m? You want to see all the bills that I pay? You want to know my payroll? You want to know my rental payments that I have to make, regardless if my tenants pay or not?
Right.
This is pressure, and pressure makes diamonds. So if you're not being pressured, you're comfortable, and you're comfortable. I think comfort is the most expensive thing you can ever have. Because you're just sitting there waiting for things to happen. But if you don't have this drive for you to get out of bed, dude, I don't sleep. That's my wife. 4 a.m, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do this, that. I have to get up. I have to do it. And she's like, wait, I got to go. I can't sit still.
Dude, you gave me a book, The One Thing. I believe it's in the book of The One Thing, but there's a quote in there about diamonds. And dude, I wish I had it with me right now, but I don't. I may have it in the backpack, but I'm not going to look through it, dude. But all that to say that it was something along those lines, man. Pressure creates diamonds.
Pressure makes diamonds.
But it was also like pressure can...
it works both ways.
Yeah, pressure can destroy or something like that, or it can create a diamond.
It can burst pipes, but it can create
That's what it was. That's what it was, dude. See, I'm telling you, man. He does read, guys. All right.
And the thing is, this is.
Hey, but let me say it so the audience hears it.
Dude.
Pressure can bust pipes or create diamonds, dude.
100%.
Dude, when I read that, I was like, whoa, baby. This is a golden nugget right here, man. And just if I could speak into that a little bit, dude, going back to how I was young and dumb and really not exposed to reality and all that, dude. When I got married, I actually got married faster than I was ever expecting to get married. And it was because of certain situations, with the in-laws or whatnot. So it was like a rapid wedding.
You had to get married.
Yeah, I had to get married, dude. But I think it was one of the best things that could have happened to me, man, because it turned me from a boy to a man. All of a sudden, I had no responsibility to now I have a wife. And not only a wife, but a year later or 9 months later, dude, we got pregnant 3 months into our marriage. Yeah, a year later, dude, I was a husband, and then I was a dad. And then like a few months later, she was pregnant again. And all this responsibility is just like boom, 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 boom. And at first I didn't know how to process it because I was like in shock,
You have to deliver.
Yeah, but you have to deliver, dude. You said something earlier, dude. You hated waking up to go to that one job you had, dude. Dude, same thing. Same thing. That's why it resonated with me, dude. I remember we had moved to a different city, bro, because I'd been offered this job, and at the time I was so bitter because I was like, still trying to adjust to my new life, but also like I had dreams, um, and all that to say, dude, that like I remember waking up for that job I had at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I dreaded it. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I could have ever allowed myself to feel that way, but you know what? Sometimes we have to go through that, dude, to become that diamond, man. And so, anyways, you're just like hitting all the bells and whistles right now, man.
But I think that that's important to realize, right? If you don't know these things, if you don't realize them, and again, sometimes they hit us at different times. Like you said, you're a late bloomer. You're not a late bloomer. I mean, the good thing is you woke up, right? And most people don't do it. They just keep going through life because they wanted to make it easy. Let me give you an example. I wanted to have 12 kids. My wife wasn't really in agreement, but she kind of. So she had 3 C-sections, and unfortunately, the doctor says it's good that you don't have any more kids because it's dangerous for you or the baby. And I said, you know what? We're not. God has blessed us with 3 beautiful kids. Let's just not tempt, something bad. So that being said, I have family members and that are afraid, or even kids around us that I don't want to have a kid. It's a big responsibility. Well, how did you come to be?
Right.
What if your mom would have said the same thing? Not only that, is it a responsibility? Yes, but those responsibilities push you to do more things.
Yes,
but
man.
we get so comfortable that we feel like, oh, I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to own a home because I don't want to be stressed. So I don't want to go. My parents take care of me. Well, what if and I ask my kids these questions? What if I die tomorrow? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna provide? Right? My wife, she was my responsibility. She's taken care of. Thank God, if I died, she'll be fine. And so are the kids. But I ask him, what if me and mom are not here? And what if all the stuff that we have doesn't exist? You got to think about that because you don't want to rely on me. And I tell them, what we have, mom and I, it's ours. And when we go, I mean, God willing, if there's something left, it'll be yours. But don't count on it.
Right.
What if I get sick? What if I get
your
ill?
own, dude.
100%. And again, in a lot of people in our community, this is something that kind of gets me or rubs me the wrong way because we all want to take care of our kids. I ask them, okay, what happened to your parents? Did you take care of them? No. Did you leave, right? You left your parents and you did your own life, and did you look back and you take care of your parents? You didn't. Are your kids going to take care of you? Because this is stuff that we need to talk about because people don't realize it.
Right.
And also don't be a burden to your kids. Because in our culture, it's like, oh, my kids are going to take care of me. It's your responsibility. No, you take care of you.
Right.
I think it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar that said, you know what? You take care of you for you, so I can take care of me for me, and I can take care of you after the fact, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, now you become a burden.
Yes.
And you want to become a burden. You want to become of value, right? And again, going back to being what is this word? We're entitled, right? This entitlement mentality, right? That we are owed this thing. No, you're not owed anything.
Right. Yeah, you touched a very interesting subject, dude, because especially when it comes to our culture, dude, like the whole idea of family and unity and being together and stuff like that's great, but I've also learned, new things and from other cultures and how to do things, right? And just to give you an example, like I have a friend whose business is intertwined with his dad, and it's just a weird dynamic to where like if they weren't together, one could totally thrive, but because there's like that sense of commitment and like, maybe the dad helped him start, I don't know, but the point is like when he's thriving, the other one's not. So then they have to compensate. And then like, there's a sense of like, they have to take care of each other, which I understand to a certain degree, of course, you don't want to see your parents like on the street or anything like that. But to the point where it's like dragging you down, it's like, dude, somebody's got to pivot,
Yeah.
And so, and then speaking of culture, I realize even through that, just one example, dude, it's not that easy for other people to pivot,
For anybody. And again, we all have different backgrounds, and we are shaped. I'm reading a book. It's called The Psychology of Money. And we are shaped by our eras, right? Like where we grew up, like people that grew up in the Great Depression have a different perspective than people that were born in the 20s because they were the roaring 20s. And then so on, like after the World War II, when everybody came back and there was a lot of prosperity. So and we cannot judge people because of that, but we can remind them and just kind of show them and make them aware. Like you said, right? I was a late bloomer. Well, why were you a late bloomer? There was nobody around you that kind of showed you the way. And this is the cool thing about what we're doing, right? We can share that message. Obviously, people need to look at it. And like I said earlier, Elon Musk is another one that said it. Ignorance is by choice right now. Ignorance is by choice because everything's on YouTube. Whatever you want to learn, it's right there. So ignorance is a choice. And if you don't get it, it's because of you not looking for it.
Right. Dude, I just want to touch on, actually, there's so many things I want to talk about with you because I feel you bring great
We got to do
perspective.
more than once.
For sure. There'll be other episodes. But just real quick, dude, I guess I was going to take another direction, but I'm going to go in this direction, dude. Kind of bringing faith into the mix a little bit, you know? I grew up in the church and stuff like that. And I don't want to say the church because certain religious groups use the word church, but it means a totally different thing in a different context. So for me, I grew up in the faith, right? I grew up, Christian or whatnot. All that to say that, especially in that generation and in the culture of Christianity that I grew up in, because I grew up in like the Latino side. Eventually, I moved on to like the American side, Christianity, so to speak. But especially in the Latino side, it's like money's bad, you know. And
I was raised Catholic, so yeah, money's evil.
Yeah, and so it's like, no, money is not bad. Now I know that, right? Now I understand that money is not bad. It's where your heart lies, you know?
The love of money is bad.
Right. That is the key. It's where your heart lies. Like if you love money, that's bad.
That's it.
If you're putting money in front of God, then that's bad, you know?
100%.
But if you look at like Paul, one of the apostles, he was a tent maker. He was a businessman, dude. And he did that. And he literally says that he did that. So nobody could come back to him and say like, hey, you're living off of the gospel, And so I see that and I find that to be very commendable, A lot of all the other disciples too, they were fishermen and stuff like that. So they came from businesses. I don't know where down the line we got this idea that like, oh no, you just live to bare minimum. But all that to say, dude, that as I've grown and as I've, matured and not only matured, but gotten other perspectives, I'm beginning to learn like, no, it's good to make money. Because
you bless others.
You bless others. But my perspective has gone from money is money to money as a tool. It
is a tool.
Money is a tool that can open up doors, that can put you in different positions to do other things, to help other people at other levels. And not only that, but it gives you freedom, right? Christ gives us true freedom, but our finances here on this earth, man, can't give us freedom to do what God has called us to do, so to speak, right? Amen. And I do believe where God calls, He provides, because I've seen it in my own life. But there was a sense of me having to kick it into gear, or when I finally kicked it into gear was when I made peace with myself to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with pursuing financial freedom. Like there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Let me share something with you real quick in that regard. Like you have all this equipment here. It costs money, right?
Yes, sir.
And you need money to buy it. And that money blesses people that are making these things. So it's an economy that it's created, and people don't understand that. Well, people want to get a handout. Well, where does the money come from? I mean, everything that we have here, these microphones, the steel, everything was something that was created by someone that had an idea. So money, and this is another thing, there's no shortage of money. Money is being printed like you have no idea. There's another great book. It's called The Lords of Easy Money. Read it. You're going to be blown away. You're never going to want to have cash. You want to have assets. But my point with that is that, let me give you an example again, going back to real estate. There's a piece of land, right? But if in that land, I build a well, I build a septic tank, I do a foundation, put up some walls, roof, build a house, all the people that are going to be hired in there are going to make money. On top of that, that piece of land that was worth nothing is worth now a lot more. So the value it's created, right? So when people start thinking about, oh, you're greedy, no, it's not. It's how do you bless others like that, right? We just recently did a flip. A lot of people got blessed by that, right? And we got blessed too, and we can bless others. It's just the concept of how it's presented about you focusing on money. Well, you're not focusing on money if you're criticizing, because you're focusing on what is that guy doing instead of you, going down to work and getting things done so you can also be blessed and bless others.
Right, man. Yeah. I think that's a very important thing for people to understand, man. And another thing too that I want to kind of touch on real quick is you mentioned it earlier, but it's surrounding yourself with the right people. You recently gave me a book. That's kind of another topic, but kind of speaks into what I'm about to say. And the title of the book is Who Not How, dude. And finding that who instead of wasting your time on the how. And I think that speaks into what I want to say, which is like, man, surrounding yourself with the right people, not just for a transactional sense, but also for growth, and then finding the right people with the same mindset so that you can from that point grow and not stay in the same place. I think I shared with you and stuff like that. You know, I love my parents and my parents are great, but they have a way of thinking, you know, and when they see me doing my thing and, you know, trying to pursue this and pursue that, and
Get a
making
real
moves,
job, Wiffy. What are you doing?
yeah, get her, you know, get the 8 to 5, you know, and like, man, you did this, you should have this, you know, like, and it's like, man, they don't see where I want to get to and the sacrifice and the hard work that it's going to take. And then when they see it happening, they start to worry because in their minds, it's like,
They're
how
trying
can
to
you
protect you.
yeah, how can you be doing that? You know? And it's like, nobody gives you nothing for free or this and that, or like, you know, there's always something that they're worried about. And it's like, no, it's a, to your point and how you've said it to me before is small steps, small things, small actions compound and eventually they get you to another place.
Yep.
And I've recently experienced that in my own life with, you know, this new business venture that I'm going into. I was just talking to my wife and I was like, man, like, I know I sometimes say like, I wish I could go back and do this and do that. I said, but I really don't, because if I did, I wouldn't be where I'm
You
at
wouldn't
today.
learn what you've learned. Yeah.
And we probably wouldn't be opening up WIFFYs. You know what I'm saying? And the small steps and the small risks and the businesses that we've opened and the failures we've had and the successes we've had have led us to this point. You know, in my case, where I met this individual who is a who, because he's at a whole nother level than me, and he's bringing me up to his level, you know? And it's like, man, and also at such a speed too. Like I told my wife, like it would have taken us years to get to what we're doing now, you know, but because we found that who, you know, and quite frankly, I wasn't looking for that who. It just kind of one of those things where I guess God just put that who in my life. But all that to say, dude, that yeah, a lot of mental transformation has to happen, I feel like, within our culture, and then also not just our culture, but then the current culture here in the States, man, with the younger generation and stuff like that. Just real quick, another thing I want to say is I remember when I used to have my food truck, and friends and family would see like, you know, me at an event, and maybe at that event they saw us crush it, and in their mind they're thinking like, man,
This
these
guy's
guys are
killing it.
raking it, you know. But they didn't understand, like, man, it's not that easy. And then they would come up to me and be like, hey man, we're thinking of getting into the food truck industry, like, hey man, can you connect us? Hey man, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And quite frankly, dude, number one, my thought was always like, you have no clue, like it's a hustle. And number two, my other thing was like, I love helping people, you know, and I'm sure you do as well because you have that vibe. However, dude, you can tell, like, you can learn to discern between people, you know, and it's like, I don't necessarily want to help the people that just want to come up to me so that they can gain access to what I've worked so hard to build. Now, if I see that you're hustling and I see that you're a hard worker, trust me, you don't even need to ask me, dog. I'm going to go to you and I'm going to give you all my resources because I want to see you succeed too. But then there's some people that just come and they just like leeches, you know? They're like, oh, hey, man, I'm thinking of getting into the food truck. Hey, can you hook me up with this? Can you hook me up with that? Can you get me into this group or that group? Or can you tell this guy? And it's like, dude, like, I always just smile and I'm kind about it. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, you guys have no clue, man. There's been so much work in the background to get to where we are today, you know?
Right.
And again, like, I want to help. I do. You want to help. But I don't want to be asked to help. I just want to, and don't get me wrong, there's situations where people need help and they ask and you help, you know? But what I'm saying is like that discernment where like, you know, and people are just like,
They come to you when you have it, and then they want to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned, WIFFY, is that not everybody wants to get the results, but nobody wants to do the work.
right.
And I think that's where you're going. So I don't mind helping people. Like my team came to me for I can be making more money doing other things, which again, I'm going to kind of little segue into that, because you also have to step away and say, okay, am I doing the best for me and my family and my abilities? Or am I just, you know, because again, I feel like God blessed me with what I do. So I'm doing it in that regard because I want to help these kids change their lives and then change their families' generational wealth and grow it, right? Because there's a lot that we can do. And at the end of the day, when I die, I'm not taking anything. And I have big dreams. I have crazy goals because I feel like God gave us the talents that he gave us for us to share them and use them. But also gave you that discernment, right? Like you said, make sure that you the right people are there. And if they're not, I mean, don't waste your time because they're not going to be doing it. One thing in one of the books, he talks about this insurance guy that he was a top producer. He was like the number one for over 1,000 people. And everybody would ask him, how do you do it? How do you do it? And he would share with them. After a while, he stopped. And he's like, why don't you share what you say? Because nobody does it. Everybody wants to get to the finish line. Like I just did a half marathon. I'm not a runner. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I felt like a train ran me over after the fact. But just knowing that how far you can go if you put your mind into it. I've been walking a mile for the last 8 years, every single day. Not every single day. There's maybe I take a week or a couple days off or whatever. But I've been just walking that mile. But talk about the compound effect, right? I was able to run those 13.1 miles effortlessly. And I feel good about it afterwards. And I got emotional at the end. I'm like, man, I did it. Like, I couldn't believe it. Why? It was little by little. But people they see your results and they want to get them immediately. And it's been a process, like you said. It's not overnight. And there's a lot of things you can share with them, like with my team members. I wish I can pour all the knowledge that I have and put it in their head. It doesn't work that way. So when they don't show up, this is where I think where you're going with that, because we all want to give, we all want to help out. I have a couple of agents that don't show up to the training, don't come into the meetings, but they text me at 7:00, ask me for a question. I'm like, I'm at 7:30 to 8. I'm there doing script practice with you. I'm there after 10 because between 8 and 10 I do my prospecting so I can bring money to the table, and then I'm here all day. And then you text me at night when I'm with my family, and you want an answer, but you're not showing up. I sacrifice. I love going to the gym in the morning because I haven't shaved today because I have to go to the gym with the steam room. I shave very nice, but it's like my me time. I listen to my books. And I don't listen to books just to feel that I'm listening. I love learning, man. The more you learn, the more you earn, the more you realize how little you know. And to me, that moment is amazing, right? And then I have to rush to get into my meeting at 7:30 because I want to be there with my team so I can coach them and help them. But they don't show up. And my cost per hour is pretty hefty. Now, do I tell them that? I sometimes remind them because I'm like, they don't realize that I could be doing something else, making way more money, but I'm there for them. And if they don't appreciate it, I'm done. Like, I don't want to share my knowledge with people that aren't getting appreciated, right? Because it's way more than an attorney cost what I make per hour during my work hours. And I don't say that to brag. I'm saying it because if you don't value my time, why would I value yours? And I think that's where you were going. People want to get to the finish line, but they don't want to do the mile every day.
Yeah.
For the last 8 years.
That's kind of where I was going, dude. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely, dude. As you were talking, I was remembering something else that you said, man, that caught my attention. But then my HDAD kicked in again, dude.
It's okay.
But hey, just real quick, dude. So we can kind of start wrapping it up because we've been on for a while.
I know this is a long. I thought it was going to be like a 30-minute interview. It's like 3 hours.
Dude, first episode of many to come, dude, for sure.
100%.
But all that to say, dude, that I just kind of want you to share with the audience, man, like where you are today. You can feel free to speak about your business, what you do, some of your accomplishments, if you want to, of course. But all in the context of like, I did all that stuff, man. I lived all that life, I went through all that change, that pivoting, the hunger never stopped. And this is where I am today, And then also if you can just kind of put that into perspective towards the end, connect that with your faith, how do you lead? And I don't want to, not necessarily how do you lead, cause that's a whole nother conversation, but just like, how do you more than lead, how, if anything, how do you follow him so that you can execute what not only he wants you to do, but the aspirations that you have personally. But before we get to that point, just kind of share with the crowd, like, hey man, this is all I did, which you've already had. And then this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm hustling. This is how I'm succeeding. I'm reaping the fruits of my labor, man.
For sure. So going back to 2011, when I went full-time, God allowed me to do what I do. The first year, I think I made like $25,000 in sales. The next year I did 60. And then the next year I did like 160. Then I did 200, then 360, then $500,000, then on and on and on. This last year in commissions as a team, we did $2 million worth of commissions.
Get out, dude.
Yep.
In 2025.
2025, we helped 195 families either buy or sell their home. We have a team of 25 agents, and it's growing. We own a rental portfolio of about 12 rental units, and then we have land, so we're close to 20 units, 20 properties, and we're blessed beyond belief in that regard. And I think the most impactful things, I'm going to take you back just a couple of times to different pivot points. One was like in 2004, I was working at an Albertsons, and the manager at the store, super positive all the time, super pumped. And I would ask him, how you doing? Terrific. And me, Mexican, kind of like, what's up? Like kind of negative. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? I mean, look how bad we have our mentality, right? I was thinking that guy was wrong and not me. And so after a while, I started mimicking what he was doing. He completely changed the way I saw things. He was looking at everything in a very positive way, even though he probably didn't feel terrific every day. To me, I don't know when you ask me, how you doing? I'm terrific. Like, that's from him. That was a pivot moment in my life. From there, I went to work at another place where they did an assessment on me, and I came in mediocre, right in the middle.
No way.
And the guy says, why would I hire you? And I says, that was another slap on my face. And I says, because I was kind of coasting. I was like down. I was beat. And I says, give me a job. Don't pay me for 2 weeks, and I'll show you what I can do. And if you don't like me, you can fire me. And he says, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. 6 months later, I became a supervisor. And, that's where I went into the bank and all this other stuff. But fast forward to where we're at. I mean, we're blessed. We have a business of real estate that produces every month. Like you said, a business, not every month we're profitable. And yes, we made that kind of money in commissions, but it's spread between all the agents. And yet we're blessed. Like I said, we have a rent portfolio. We just closed on another home. We just actually sold one and purchased one. I'm always constantly, buying and selling. I keep most of my homes as rentals. I have 3 beautiful kids. They're my life, along with my wife. They're my why. This is why I do what I do. And going back to God every morning, the first thing I do is read a devotional. I have to get aligned with God and what He wants me to do. And then I listen to a coach, read my books. I have a routine that I do every single day. I go to church. We do mission trips. We're very active in the community. We do seminars, so we're giving back to the community. We're teaching people what we've learned so that they can also take advantage of the knowledge that we've gained. Because most people, like you said earlier, they don't want to share. And like for me I think that when you bless others, God just gives you more. It's like, I don't know if when we go to church, people talk about tithing and it's not good that you tithe, as this scam or whatever. God's blessed us beyond belief because of our hearts. And I'm not saying that we don't. Like that's besides the fact you don't share that. But when you give to people, God blesses you and gives you more too, so you can continue blessing more people. And I don't do it for those reasons, but God is in my life, and every single thing that I do, I say, you know what? I used to stress WIFFY like you have no idea. Right now, we were closing on the house. The lender was more stressed than I was. He was sitting next to me on the floor trying to put things together for a deal to close. And I said, you know what? It's in God's hand, man. He's in control, and if things are going to happen, He's going to make them happen. You don't have to worry about it. And sure thing, God provided. And yesterday we closed on our home, and I trust in Him. I don't abuse that because, again, I want to make sure that I honor Him, and everything that I do, everything that I have, it's His. And at the end of the day, all the glory and all the honor is to God. Like that's it, man. I don't say it's me because it's not me. But wherever I am, whatever I have, it's because of God's grace and God's, He's been blessing us beyond belief.
Right on, man. Right on, dude. Tell me about tell me how old were you when you, I guess, could say went into full time
real estate in 2011. So I was 34.
So at 34, so when you can say that technically that was like a big pivotal moment in your life where from there on it was like change.
Think about how much I trusted God and how much I trusted that this was going to work. Again, at that point, I made $70,000 a year that year, and the next year I made $25,000. But I trusted God. He provided everything. We got a house, we got our car paid for. My mortgage was $500. Like talk about providing for everything. We were so relieved with no debt. Everything was just flowing, and it was the hardest time to get into real estate. So again, talk about testimony. You cannot get any deeper than that because there was the odds were completely against me. and God provided, dude. Like every single year provided, and it was like the worst time ever for real estate. So to get into that career, talk about everything going against you, that was it. And in 2011, we did it, and we're still here.
Yeah, dude. The reason why I bring up the age question is not necessarily to like point that out, but yes, point it out in a sense that like success doesn't always come when you think it's gonna come. And for me, one of the things that I've always thought is like, man, time is passing, time is passing. Like my birthday was Sunday, 36 years old, dude.
Happy birthday! No,
Yeah,
you're young. Yeah.
And so I'm 36 years old, and I'm about to officially like embark on a journey of a business that I kind of consider like, okay, now I'm official, you know, like we're official. We got to go make it happen, you know. But all that to say that it's taken me all that time. And in my personal opinion, there was times where I was like, man, dude, like I've done so much. I'm wasting time like this and that, but not realizing that maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe it wasn't his timing. And all that I was going through, it was just him prepping me for what he was about to give me, you know? And so it's never too late. So if somebody out there is listening, man, like it doesn't matter how old you are, man. You know, like the guy from Kentucky Fried Chicken, man.
I was going to mention Colin Sanders. He started when he was retired.
Yeah, he started when he was retired.
He couldn't make it.
And that's when he made it, you know? And all that to say, too, there's an actor, too, I forget his name, but he was 38 when he first got his first role, dude. And then he made it in the Marvel movies and all that stuff.
So there's no right time, WIFFY. And I think again, going back to when people come and ask you, how do you do it? They have to go through the process, right? And if you don't invest in you and all these things, like I failed so many times. And if you ask Michael Jordan, he's the one that's failed most shots than anybody else. But that's why he succeeded. Why? Because he practiced more than anybody else. Kobe Bryant, he used to be at the training facility at 4 a.m. I don't remember the other guy that was showing up to, like, when he saw him, he's like, man, this guy's here. He went in there even earlier, and he was already there. And he's like, what time do you get here? He's like, you're never going to be me. I'm going to be here before you. So people saw what he did on the court, but they didn't see what he did behind the scenes.
Right.
So basically what you're going through is you've been going through all this training behind the scenes that is getting you to that level, to that position. And it never ends. Like, I got news for you. Success is rented. And the rent is due every day, real estate related to, again, right?
What a great quote, dude. I wonder where you got that from, dude.
It's not mine. I borrowed it, I promise.
Dude, just real quick for our audience, man. I think it's very important to point out that that obviously you have to work hard, you know, but also work very smart, you know, like you said, find a way to get to where you want to go. Not necessarily that is easier, but that is a much more effective way to get from point A to point B rather than your own way.
Talk about that. Like, sorry for interrupting you, but if I don't want to forget about this. Henry Ford, he says, if I would have listened to people, I would have built a faster carriage. They thought he was crazy. They took him to court because the guy, they're like, this guy's an ignorant. He's not an engineer. And he proved them wrong. He's like, well, listen, I have these buttons in my office. If I push a button, if I don't have the answer, I can bring one of the engineers to give me the answer. Who, not how. But my point with that is, you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to know everything. You have to trust your gut. You have to go with it. And if they're judging you, they're criticizing you, you're going in the right direction because everybody is going in the same direction.
Right.
95% of people are complacent. People complain about the top 5%, but 95% of the people are not willing to do what the top 5% do. And then the top 1% have everything. Why? Because they're really to do the crazy things. The Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, the Bill Gates, they are in the position they're at because they're even crazier than other people.
Right. Than the 5%.
100%.
Dude, I think one of those things, I think the most key thing, and I guess I don't want to say that it's the most key thing, but I think for people like us, I think we don't have like I hear your story and I know my story, so it's like we don't have problem with change. You know what I'm saying? Like change ain't nothing but a thing.
My wife hates the moves, but you know what? I said,
dude, I think I can resonate with your story. And the two common denominators that I know we have is the change part, but even better than that, I think we have cheerleaders as wives. 100%. You know,
that's the best. That one of the biggest things that can make you or break you is your partner.
Yes. Dude, I can't tell you how many friends I've had recently tell me like, hey, man. And you know what? I really felt like that was God nudging me. Like, dude, appreciate your wife a little bit. Please, you know? You have to. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But all that to say that my wife's kind of like cheered me on even, you know, and she's gone on these crazy journeys with me. and I know your wife has too, because
Same
you guys
thing.
shared your story with me, man. It was like, man, dude, like if it was any other woman, I'd probably be divorced, dude.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
And again, going back, just imagine at her home, they had a couple mates. They helped them out. My father and my mother-in-law. They were hardworking people, and they showed their kids hard work. But picture that coming from a place where you have everything, to we're renting a room, sleeping in a twin bed. She never complained. She was stressed, but she never told me. She actually went to work one time with me. It was friggin' the middle of summer. She stayed in the car. After she told me that she was trying to find water, it was so hot, but she was like there supporting me, man. Like it was. So these things are like, man, I'm so blessed. Talk about being blessed. You know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gave me the best wife ever.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And that's key, man. But I also want to focus on the pivoting side. I don't know why I feel like I need to talk about that
Go
right now,
for it.
dude. Like, if you're listening, man, and you're out there and you want to accomplish your own dreams and goals, like he said, go against the current. Don't listen to what people are telling you, and don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid of change, because it's not that hard. It's not that
You're not a tree.
difficult. You're not a tree, man. And with the pivots, for as small or as big as they may seem, they can lead you into other things that will eventually open up other doors, man. And so if you just do the same thing every day, and or the same job, or you're afraid of not taking that risk, take it, because if you don't pivot, if you don't change, then your situation's not going to change, man. So
100%.
I have a cousin who always told me, like, oh man, you're so spontaneous, and like, almost like she was kind of like saying it like if it was a good thing, but also like a bad thing. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And I've had so much fun doing it, man. Like I was just telling my wife about that this morning. We were driving in the truck, and I was like, you know what? She was telling me, because I always kind of like I asked you, sometimes I'll ask people, I'm like, hey, what do you think are my top 3 strengths? And what do you think are my top 3, like, not strengths, And my wife's like, you know what? One of the things that I know that you do is you're spontaneous. And she's like, 85% of the time, you operate better in spontaneous than if you plan it. And I'm like, you know what? But I think it's because I enjoy like being like living in spontaneousness,
Well, you're being also, what do you call it? You're being, what's this word? Authentic. Because when you were going like this, we're freestyling. Like we're talking the truth. We're talking from the heart. And when you think about it, is it genuine or is it real? This is raw and it's real, right? And most people have to think about what they're going to say, which again, I think I should do that more than not, because sometimes I say things I shouldn't.
Amen, brother, for me.
But that's the part where you're genuine, right? Like, you know what you're going to get with me. And this is, sometimes I'm not as, like last night I was having a conversation with one of my agents, and I says, I didn't want to make this a lecture, but I did. And the reason I do it is because I love you. And if I didn't, I wouldn't care. Like, and I want to see you grow, but sometimes you have to do some tough love,
Yeah. I'm learning, dude. I'm learning. One of the things my wife said was like, she said, you've gotten so much better at this, but I used to hate that you would always just say yes. Like you couldn't say no.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like don't say no to people all the time, but like learn how to say no too.
You have to. You can't say yes to everything, because then you're sacrificing. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And a lot of times, when we say yes to a lot of stuff, we're saying no to our families. So to me, that's been one of the things that I'm working on to improve is, how do I say more yes to my family and no to the commitments, because you want to please everybody. Yet the people that you really, really love and that are really there for you, they're being neglected.
Hey, man, just to kind of start wrapping this up, one of my last questions, man. You've reached what you've reached, and you are where you are today. What is it that you really are striving for, and where do you want to get to in the near future, man?
You know what? I think, like I mentioned earlier, there's no ending. I think God gives us this life to do as much as we can. Remember that parable where he pulls out the plant that is not producing anymore? I feel like when you get to that point, is like you're out. Like he's going to call your name and say, hey, buddy, you're done? Okay, let's go. So what is it that I can do to make change in this world? Again, we have a passion to travel. And what better way to travel and do missions, right? So to me, that's one of the things that it's in my heart to do. How can I... There's something that's been in my heart for a long time that I want to do in Mexico, like a Christian entrepreneur school for kids.
Interesting, dude.
So that they can have a better opportunity and not just think that doing drugs is going to be the way out.
Right.
Instead, like going to like the marginalized places to teach kids how to become entrepreneurs in a Christian way. So I think that's one of the other things. And again, real estate is my thing. I want to build homes, develop, buy more rentals, and just keep doing that.
So this is probably gonna sound like a silly question because obviously that's what you're doing. That's the business you're building. But do you feel like real estate is like not necessarily end all, but because like you said, nobody knows, right? But and there really is no end all, so to speak, right? But for you, you see yourself doing this like not only, I mean, you are already heavily invested, but do you see yourself like truly digging deep and like this is what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't think I'll do anything else. I mean, who knows, right? But real estate, it's been a blessing to us, and it's a blessing to a lot of people, and it's the best hedge against inflation. It keeps growing. I mean, and when you talk about like where I'm at, like one of my buddies owns 300 homes, so I'm like not even a tenth from what he's at. So when you talk about reaching a goal, is like, what is a goal, right? How far can I go? How far can I take it? What more can we do so we can do more good? You know what I mean? So I think that's the key. Like, I don't think it'll never end. I don't know where it'll take me. I'm going to let God guide me in that regard and just go as far as he wants me to go.
Hey, and then just real quick, man, just before we end it, dude, for today, in regards to what you just said right now, just kind of let God lead you and stuff like that. Like, what would you say is one of the most exhilarating / challenging things that you felt that he's led you to do that you did that turned out to be one of the most amazing things that you could have done to help you grow not only as a person but your business or in some aspect of your life, dude?
You know what? I feel like I've been blessed with not a challenging life. I think that I've seen challenge throughout my whole life. So to me, it's like, this is the life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Funny, dude.
It's true. Like
what else are you gonna? Yeah, I get what you're saying, dude.
When people ask me like, what are dude? I've been challenged my whole life. Like, this is life for me. This is what I've had to deal with. I mean, this last week, I drained everything that I had to close on my home, but I have other things because other things were supposed to happen. Like I told my daughter on my way here, like when we're coming back from California, I feel naked because I had to deplete my accounts to make what I was doing happen, trusting that things are going to work out, and they did. So it's always challenging. It's always like, where do I go? Where do I run? So life has always been challenging for me. So it's like my way of life.
And you know what's one thing I've found about true entrepreneurs, man, which I don't consider myself to be one yet.
You are
like people like you and other people I know that are like have very big successful businesses. You guys are great at like, or at least you make it look like you're great at living in the tension, like you can handle the stress, man. There's so many things happening in the background. Like you said earlier, man, you don't know how much, like my payroll, this and that, but you just like, you're holding the fort steady and like with a straight face and you're like, let's go get more, And so that's kind of like a common denominator I found that like those type of challenges or carrying that stress is not really I'm sure it affects you guys in some way, but it seems as if it wouldn't phase you. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. It's part of your growth. And like you said earlier, there's the diamonds are made with pressure, and there's no growth unless you have pressure. Like for the trees to grow, they have to actually, there's an analogy that I like to use about the lobsters, like in order for them to grow, they have to get rid of their shell. And when they do that, you think they're easy to eat.
They're vulnerable, dude.
So they hide under a rock for a little bit until that, crust grows. And if they wouldn't do that, they wouldn't be able to grow. So it's discomfort. Like you can find, examples in everything. The caterpillar that turns into a butterfly, like how do you, not the caterpillar, the, ¿cómo se llama la oruga?
I don't remember, dude.
The worm that turns into the butterfly, right?
Yeah.
It's stressful. Like if you rip up the process to make it easier for it, it'll die.
Right.
So all the stress that we have to go through at the olive trees, man, they say they have to go through the harsh summers and then the crazy winters for them to thrive. So you can see it in nature, you can see it in life. I mean, and we as human beings are the ones that, we're the weakest. You see an ant carrying 10 times its weight. How many times do we do that? Like that's why I said, like, I've learned from all these things that make you think and say, am I really doing the best? Am I really giving in my all? I mean, can I do the 13.1 miles And I see Dave Goggins doing 200-mile marathons. I'm like, you're a sissy, right? Like you're crying over 13 miles when I do 200. Come on, like, oh crap, I gotta get up.
Embrace the suck.
Exactly, and that's it. It's just most people are comfortable, and sadly, that comfort is going to cost them. It's going to come and charge the bill down the road.
Dude, I want to say thank you for taking the time to sit with us, dude. I appreciate you as a person, as an entrepreneur, man, as a businessman. And as a friend, now.
Likewise,
and
brother.
thank you for giving me that space, man. Also, before we go, I just want you to like look at the camera and tell the people, man, who you are as far as like your business. Give them your tags, your socials, where they can find you, and stuff like that, dude.
All right, I'm Juan Grimaldo, real estate agent of the Grimaldo Group. We have our social media channels, which is the Grimaldo Group. We have the my personal Instagram. I'm older, so I spend more time on Facebook. And it's Juanito C. Grimaldo for Instagram. My Facebook, I have no clue. It's a little longer, but it's Juan Grimaldo. You'll see a picture of me and my family there. I'm on TikTok too. We're doing some videos, some cool videos about what's going on in the city. Follow us on TikTok. It's also Juan, your AC Realtor. That's basically it, man.
Dude.
You can go look for your next home on thegrimaldogroup.com.
Awesome, man. Next time, dude, I want to talk more about your real estate experience, dude, and some of the people you've met and stuff like that, because I've already heard snippets of those stories, dude. But hey, guys, thank you guys for watching the WIFFY podcast, man. If you stay tuned with us up until this point and you watched the whole episode, I just want to say thank you for the support. And like always, man, the way we close this out, you know it. Hoorah!